just a quick video today looking at some of the issues that come out of the last video, in which we talked about the risks and dangers in conventional motivation styles. What can you do to get your staff to buy in to the organisation, thereby improving your own life as a manager, as well as the work-life balance of your staff? Now, if you think back to the 1950s and even much more recently, what a manager was about was he and she was about controlling the company and dealing with issues to do with measurement of output, accountancy, cost accounting, quality control. I can remember with my dad's company, we hired a very expensive external consultant to produce a quality manual for the company, which proved to be an expensive waste of time, really, as it turned out, because it was all about documenting and measuring and what we were already doing, and very little time was invested in actually big picture thinking about what we could do to improve quality within the company. Quality control in the 90s and early 2000s was a little bit like that. The manager was also sought to gain an oversight of the company, so be able to watch into all corners of it. And of course, the traditional bottom line issue of a manager was about profit, and profit was defined in terms of how many dollars the company had left over at the end of the year after paying for expenses. But now managers are increasingly starting to question, are these metrics, are these kind of measures, are these kind of central values, the key values that you need to keep in mind, and are beginning to look at the long game. Work-life balance is a term that gets bandied around a lot within modern business circles, within organisational circles, within government, within unions. What does it really mean? Look, on a personal level, the cost of not dealing with work-life balance, and this is an area where I do quite a bit of research, is everything from burnout to coronary heart disease. But it also reflects in terms of amount of time and quality time you can spend with your family, and whether you're able to keep going at a task, able to keep going physically, or able to keep going at a certain level of quality output within your own terms. At a company level, there are not dissimilar concerns, because of course you do not want staff to become so burnt out that they become unproductive. There's a fairly famous case study done of a fantastic Swedish company that so engages its staff, keeps them so enthusiastically involved, so motivates the staff so successfully that the staff suffer from burnout, because they simply never leave work, don't want to leave work, and are working so hard because they're so into what they do. The costs are fairly amusing if it wasn't for so serious. On an organisational level, I think that the kind of questions that managers need to think about in responding to this issue is making sure that you do not allow your ego to get in the way of making hiring choices. People are, due to equity theory, where we spend our time, comparing ourselves with the people around us, we tend to sometimes hire conservatively people who are more junior, younger, less experienced, less educated than we are ourselves, just for fear of being shown up by our staff. Not realizing, of course, that as a manager, you are actually displaying your security within yourself and your talent at picking good people by hiring people who are better than yourself. And of course, the word better than yourself is in itself a little bit of a loaded one. If you get things right within the workplace in terms of work-life balance, in terms of happy and sustainable work, you can end up with having a workplace that requires less leadership. And again, this is a bit of a challenging thing for managers, because managers need to accept that management doesn't consist of pointing and yelling, or even of telling people what to do. That people if you get things right, will do things right of their own accord and do it so more happily and more productively. It's about creating a situation within an organisation where self-leadership begins to express itself. And as a result of these measures, you can create a company that's more sustainable and has more energy and more talent within its borders. And the word sustainable is another one of these things like quality and innovation that are thrown around, work-life balance are thrown around to a great degree within business academic circles as well as popular business magazines. But this is truly what is sustainable. If you can create a company where you don't have to be the center of the universe and don't have to be present physically or emotionally or cognitively every minute of the day, that means you can last in your job longer. And it would be true for all of your staff. Take each of them and say the same thing about them. Are they able to keep going without being, is the work being able to keep going without them? You know, or is it all dependent upon one person or another? Are we able to distribute leadership, distribute talent amongst the organisation? So the foundation stones of this kind of thinking is the issue of empowerment, giving people power and not holding it all centrally within management. The issue of continuous learning and sharing the learning and distributing learning and learnings within the organisation. Handing out autonomy, which is very similar to empowerment, and providing support as a leader rather than direction solely. And of course, the age-old term that I keep on bringing up week after week of communication. Now, finally, some of the terms you'll read about in relation to this kind of approach to management: participatory management, become familiar with that; gain sharing, where if the company does well in some sort of way, that the rewards of the company are shared. And remember, of course, that there are risks with every motivational technique. Probably the only kind of motivation that you can almost with no risk seek to improve is intrinsic motivation, as I've said before in the video on motivation. The employee stock ownership plans is a form of gain sharing. Again, the resources on Moodle will help you become, and the textbook will help you become a little bit more familiar with these options. But they are increasingly common. Let's say 100 years ago, they were extremely rare. There were cases, but they were extremely rare. And I think this is a trend in the right direction, making work seem less like an us against them situation, and bringing the employee into the center of the company has sustainability benefits for both management and the staff.